You're not trying to detach from her. You're trying to detach from the shame of how much you tolerated. And if you click away now, you'll carry that shame into every new story and swear you're protecting your peace. Stay till the end, or you'll keep cutting people off while the real problem you're running from is still sitting inside your own chest. You tell everyone, "I detached, I'm over it, I don't care anymore." You've got the silence, the no contact, the cold replies, the "I'm focused on myself now" script ready. From the outside, it looks like strength, but on the inside, every time you think about that past, your stomach still twists in the same exact place. Not because you miss her, but because you remember you, the version of you that ignored every sign, every boundary, every instinct just to keep that story alive a little longer. You're not haunted by what she did. You're haunted by what you allowed. All this detach, go cold, cut them off content sounds powerful. But if you detach from the outcome without learning the lesson, Stoicism says you're not free. You're just unfinished. You blocked her, but you never asked yourself, why did I stay after the first time I knew my trust was broken? Why did I explain my worth to someone who kept showing me they didn't care? Why did I choose being chosen over being respected? You tell yourself, I didn't know better. That's not true. You knew. You felt it in your chest, in your sleep, in the way your body tightened every time you saw their name but didn't feel peace. But you silenced that voice. You called it overthinking. You called it insecurity. You called it fear. You gave their comfort more authority than your own intuition. Now detachment has become your punishment for yourself. You go cold on everyone. You don't let anyone close. You say you don't have time for relationships. But the truth is you don't trust your own ability to walk away when it hurts. You're not afraid of being hurt again. You're afraid of ignoring yourself again. This is where Stoicism walks into the fire with you, not to tell you to forget, but to teach you how to remember correctly. The Stoics didn't erase their wounds. They carved them into wisdom. They asked after every loss, every betrayal, what in this is under my control, and what is not? You couldn't control that she lied, cheated, got bored, left, chose someone else. You can control whether you keep telling a story where you were just a helpless victim who had no idea. Because if you were powerless, there's nothing to learn. And if there's nothing to learn, detachment becomes an escape, not a graduation. So let's be honest. You saw the first red flag and called it, "They're just stressed." You saw the second, "Everyone has flaws." By the fifth, you weren't collecting data anymore. You were building a case against yourself. Every time you forgave without change, you reinforced one belief. I can't trust my own lines. I'll move them if I'm attached enough. That's the lesson you're trying not to look at. That's why detaching hurts so much. It's not just losing them. It's facing the version of you that betrayed you first. So how do you detach without throwing away the lesson? First, you stop using detachment as a performance. Detachment is not posting cold quotes aimed at them, ignoring messages just to make them panic, pretending you're busy while checking if they watched everything you do. That's still outcome addiction. You're not trying to heal. You're trying to win. Real detachment is private. It happens in choices no one sees, closing the chat without rereading it, not checking if they're online, not spying on who they're with now. Not because you're above it, but because you refuse to keep wounding yourself for free. Second, you sit with the shame without running. This is the hardest part. You replay the relationship not to romanticize it, but to audit it. Ask yourself brutally, where did I ignore myself? What did I excuse because I was lonely? Which behavior would I never accept for someone I love, but I accepted for me? Write it down. Not to torture yourself, but to sign a contract with your future self. These are the prices I will never pay again. Shame becomes useful when it turns into a boundary. Third, you detach from the fantasy of what could have been. You didn't just lose a person. You lost the movie you were playing in your head. The future apartment, the trips, the family, the version of you who finally felt chosen. That fantasy is what keeps you stuck checking their profile a year later. You're not visiting them. You're visiting the ghost of your own dream. Stoic detachment means mourning the fantasy as much as the person. You say, yes, I loved that future. Yes, it's gone. No, it was never guaranteed. And no, that doesn't mean I stop building a life worth living. Fourth, you stop needing a perfect ending to move on. You want an apology. You want them to admit they were wrong. You want them to finally say, I know your value now. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But Stoicism is clear. Your healing cannot be held hostage by someone else's maturity. Detachment from the outcome means accepting that you might never get the scene your ego wrote and choosing to walk anyway. Fifth, you store the lesson where you can't forget it. For a Stoic, a scar is not something to hide. It's a map. You can write it as a rule. If someone shows me they can lie easily, I don't stay to see how creative they can get. If I can't be honest about my needs, this is not a safe place for me. If peace disappears every time they return, they're not my home. When a new person arrives, you don't compare them to your ex. You compare your own behavior now to your behavior then. Am I moving slower? Am I listening to my intuition this time? Am I respecting my own lines? If the answer is yes, then the past did its job. It hurt you, but it also upgraded you. Finally, understand this. Detaching from someone doesn't mean you throw the whole chapter in the fire and pretend it never happened. It means you take what you paid for in pain and refuse to leave it behind. You detach from needing them back. You detach from needing them to understand. You detach from needing the story to make sense, but you do not detach from what it taught you about how deeply you can love, and how firmly you must now protect the man who loves that way. You're not weak because you stayed. You're weak only if you learn nothing and repeat it. Detach from the outcome. Keep the lesson. That's Stoic. Join the Stoic Cartel. Come back to the fire tomorrow. We'll keep turning every rejection into fuel for the kind of man you're becoming.